Made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. So this upcoming weekend, we know we got the upcoming fight between Caleb Plant and Jose Uzcategui. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Uzcategui, and I got it right the first time. Before this video goes any further, the man's name is not Uzcategui or Uzcategui or whatever y'all trying to pronounce it out there. It's Uzcategui. We're moving right along. We notice we got an upcoming fight, and this fight looks like it's going to be promising. It could be a good, promising fight. Let's deal with Caleb Plant first. Caleb Plant, this is supposed to be his coming out party right here. This is supposed to be the one that lets us know if Caleb Plant is the real deal. He's been putting that work in up at 168 pounds, and he's looking like, from the last time we seen him, shining against Porky Medina, he's looking like he's a real solid fighter. Now, when I think of Caleb Plant, the first thing that come to my mind is the dude is all hot. All hot. Beat a lot of odds. Came from homelessness. Lost his daughter. And he continued to fight. And he uses these things as inspiration and dedication to press on. So I got a lot of respect for Caleb Plant. The question is, does Caleb Plant's heart, which brought him to this level, is it enough to match with his skills to get him through a very promising opponent as Jose Uzcategui? That's the golden question. See, Caleb Plant do a lot of things good, man. The jab is sharp. The footwork is good. The defense is very solid. You know what I mean? But the thing is, he's done these things against a lot of lower tier guys. The number one thing that's going against Caleb Plant is his inexperience. He has not fought on this level, but I'm not going to sit here and act like he never wanted to fight on this level. This dude has told anybody who would listen and has showed it upon multiple occasions that he wants smoke. Crashing into the James DeGale and Caleb Truax fight. Getting James DeGale all up in his feelings. You hear me? All up in his feelings. Calling out anybody at 168. Not running away from no challenge. Welcoming this fight with Jose Uzcategui. Welcoming this fight. That's the thing. And so he clearly feels as though that he is ready for this particular level. Some say the dude swagged out. They like how he carry himself. They like how he carries himself as like a fighter. I mean, the dude been fighting since he was 9 years old. From kickboxing to boxing. Got a story to tell. You know what I'm saying? We know this fight's supposed to went down over last summer. But however, Caleb Plant injured his hand preparing for the fight with Jose Uzcategui. Preparing for the fight over the summertime, and he injured himself. Now, as for Jose Uzcategui, he's a good fighter. Good fight. I think he gets better and better with every fight, especially ever since his loss to Matt Korobov. I think he's gotten a lot better since then. I think he's figured himself out. I think during the time of the Korobov fight, he was trying to find himself. What's best for him? What style is best for him to operate on this level? When he attempted to box Matt Korobov in a lot of that fight, well, I don't think he was nearly as successful. Matt Korobov was too slick and he was dusting him. Some can say that Caleb Plant, who is a very slick fighter, who's a very skilled boxer, he can have a lot of the same successes that Matt Korobov had. But Matt Korobov dynamics was a little bit different. Because Matt Korobov, as we seen against the Jamal Charlo fight, he likes to get to the inside. He'll make you pay on counter punches, accurate counter shots. And he's always basically one punch ahead of you. That's the difference to me between him and Caleb Plant. And however, though Jose Uzcategui got knocked down a couple times in that fight, by the second half of that fight, he started putting his foot on the gas and turned himself into a pressure fighter. And he started to have much more successes. And ever since then, from the fights that I've seen, Jose has been allowing himself to fight in that style each and every fight. And he's been shining. You look at the fight that he had with Darrell, and some will tell you he was on his way to a win in that first fight with Darrell before the disqualification happened. And no, I don't think the dude did anything on purpose. I think that this dude was just so, at the time, especially that second time that he hit him after bell. He got DQ'd for hitting Darrell after the bell. But I think the second time, I'm sorry, man. I thought he was just all in the action. And, sometimes you don't hear the bell. He threw that punch right as that bell rung. But anyway, they call it a DQ because that was like the second, third time he did it, right? So they DQ'd him. But I thought he was on his way to a win. And a lot of people would tell you he was. Not to mention he stops Andre Darrell and defeats him in the second fight. Now, in the Darrell fight, some would say that Darrell's heart wasn't even in that fight. So if you want to use that as a measure, you could say, well, shit, Darrell's heart was left boxing at that time. It seemed like it. I just didn't get that from Darrell during that time. But hats off to him for giving Uzcategui an immediate rematch. But Uzcategui showed me in that fight, when he put his foot on the gas once again in that rematch, he was chopping Darrell ass down. Darrell had no answers. Hitting him with all kind of, the lead off right hand was just beautiful in that fight. And that's one of the best weapons that Jose Uzcategui has. A beautiful lead off right hand. Beautiful. He has good footwork. He likes to get in, he get out. He's rangy. He likes to fight from range more so than on the inside, though he's a pressure fighter. But he likes to pressure you and then stop at range. He has a big right hand. Loves to press the action. He has a measuring jab, not a stiff jab. He measures you, and then looks to bring the pain. Very dangerous when he's throwing punches. Especially if the rare times he likes to throw punches in bunches. Well, I ain't gonna say rare. He likes to throw combos. He's a combination pressure fighter. But full of heart himself. When I look at the discrepancies of Jose Uzcategui, I say to myself, this dude gets touched a lot with the jab. And that's going to play in heavy favor for Caleb Plant. Jose Uzcategui gets touched very easily with the jab. Sometimes Jose Uzcategui, through his pressure, he starts to swing a little wildly and he becomes a little inaccurate. That's one of the reason that Matt Korobov shined against him, because he used his head movement in defense and he was making Uzcategui swing wild at a lot of portions of that fight. That's another thing that plays into Caleb Plant's favor, because Caleb Plant's defense is sharp. It's based on his footwork. He likes to get out of the way of punches. But it's sharp. He has the ability to get in and get out. And if Uzcategui looks to counter, make Uzcategui miss. Jose Uzcategui does not fight nearly as well going backwards as he does coming forward. When he goes backwards, he gets touched a lot. Kind of covers up a lot. But his defense is not that stellar. The question is, can Caleb Plant actually back up Jose Uzcategui? Because, like I said before, since the Korobov fight, from what I've seen, Uzcategui, he doesn't like to back up much no more because he knows that he gets touched way too much going backwards. So both of these men do things that play in each other's favor. In my opinion, Uzcategui, he gets touched with the jab that plays into Caleb Plant's favor. He swings wildly at times. That plays into Caleb Plant's favor. And he gets hit when going backwards. That I don't know if it plays into Plant's favor because, like I said, I don't know if Plant can back him up. But however, on the Uzcategui's side of the tracks, he is the more experienced fighter. That plays into his favor. I think he has a much bigger dog inside of him than Plant has inside of him. That could play a lot into his favor. Caleb Plant has never seen anybody like Jose Uzcategui his entire career. No one. So how does he perform here? Some may say this is a 50-50 fight. It's a hard call. It's a really hard call. Now, according to Caleb Plant, because one of the things that I've also looked at about him was how sure is his power? Is his power elite level power? Especially after coming off of an injury. And according to Caleb Plant, and I quote, "After I hurt my hand, I didn't just sit on the sidelines waiting for my turn. I knew that was a time for me to get better, so I stayed in the gym and worked on my strength. I worked on things that I wanted to tighten up, and when I came back, I wasn't the same me. I was a better me," end quote. Slim know how to talk that talk. You hear me? But the one thing that I take from that quote is that he said he's been working on his strength. Is this something that he even questioned himself about? Yeah, he had stoppages from a lot of lower tier dudes, but a lot of those dudes was just straight bums. I'm sorry, man. He didn't stop Porky Medina, but then again, neither did Jose Uzcategui when he fought him. And he was laying a lot of leather on Porky. He started to play with him a little bit, start styling on him a little bit. I'm talking about Caleb Plant, but he ain't stop him. And that was his last fight. Supposed to have been, at that time, his biggest step-up fight. Though Porky came in there, Porky looking like Porky for real. And he couldn't get the job. He just looked like a shell of his former self in that fight. Definitely wasn't the same one that got in there with Benavidez. Now, that's another thing. Like I said, man, Caleb Plant, that's one thing I don't want to forget. He shows David Benavidez a hell of a lot of respect, man. And that's a fight that he's looking to pivot to if he gets through Jose Uzcategui. Not going to be easy. Now, of course, with the younger brother, Jose Benavidez, we seen them scrapping. Even while Caleb Plant was injured. You know what I'm saying? Caleb from the streets, Slim Caleb from the hood. You hear me? He ain't backing down from nobody. He brings that to a fight. He just disguises it with a lot of skill. He's hungry, man. That speaks volumes. And like I told you at the beginning of this video, the dude's fighting for a lot. He came from a long way. He says, and I quote, "I have a high definition picture of the IBF belt, really big, even bigger than an actual belt, on the ceiling above my bed. And every night I fall asleep, it's the last thing that I see. Every day when I wake up, I see that belt as well. Also on the wall, there's a dry erase board counting down the days with everything that I have to do on it each day," end quote. See, Caleb Plant has been planning for this, man. He really saying like he wants this. The dude been rocking with the same corner and team that he had since the amateur days, not changing nobody out. So this is a major ride for all of them. They've been rolling with this dude for years. So if Caleb Plant can gain this win, he not only wins it for himself and his family and his trials and tribulations, but he also win it for everybody that's riding with him in that corner. You hear me? It's a good fight. It's a good fight. He says, and I quote, "I think about this moment literally all day, every day," end quote. Now, that's not to take away from Jose Uzcategui, because Uzcategui been wanting this fight, and to his credit, right after the Darrell fight, he getting right in there with Caleb. Now, Caleb is IBF mandatory, so this was pretty much he had no choice. But at the end of the day, he ain't put up no resistance neither. And even when Caleb Plant got injured, he just took on a lower tier dude just to wait for Caleb Plant. Both men feel as though that their styles are tailor-made for each other. And that can be said in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to say that. I say all of that to say this. My prediction for this particular fight, and it's going to be interesting, but I am going to say, in my opinion, that I believe that Caleb Plant will lose to Jose Uzcategui. I think that Jose Uzcategui's experience, the fact that he brings a lot of pain in his punches, and most importantly, he makes it awkward because he keeps coming. And on top of that, You got to pack a mean punch to put this guy down. And I believe that if he stays on top of Caleb Plant, though Caleb Plant is full of heart, but he's coming off of an injury, and then on top of that, an injured hand. I don't believe he'll be able to keep Uzcategui up off him. I just don't see it. I think he backs up Caleb Plant and it's straight right hands down the pipe. I think eventually Caleb Plant will start to tie down. He's only won 12 rounds once in his entire career, and that was the Medina fight. I think that would affect him. I just don't see him stopping Jose Uzcategui, and I see Jose Uzcategui with his footwork, dynamic punching ability, and just the dog that he keeps in him. I think that's enough to get Plant. That's just in my opinion. I could be wrong. I think he drops Caleb Plant. Matter of fact, I think he stops Caleb Plant roughly about round 10. I think at that point, it'll be too much. And then Caleb will be telling us that his hand really affected him more than he thought. That's what my prediction is for this fight. I'm rocking with Jose Uzcategui for the win, for the stoppage over Caleb Plant, defending his IBF title. And still. And I'm going to leave it right there. To the next video, Main Man Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe to Twitter, Made Man 511, Facebook, Main Man Made Man Boxing Forum, Google Plus, Main Man Made Man. Some say they probably see Caleb Plant outboxing Jose Uzcategui because of the successes that Matt Korobov had, being a dynamic boxer himself. But you notice that Korobov started to tire in the second half of that fight. And that's when Uzcategui was coming on in that particular fight. Korobov had enough pop to keep Uzcategui at range and at bay. I don't see Caleb Plant having that. Though his footwork will look to be, he has dynamic, great footwork. I mean, A+ footwork from Caleb Plant. Good speed, no doubt about it. But he's going to be tested. He's going to be tested a lot. And another big thing is, if Jose Uzcategui is smart, he will be hitting Caleb Plant to the body. That's something he's been reluctant to do in a lot of previous fights. But when I seen him fight Andre Dirrell, he was hitting that man with everything but the kitchen sink, especially that straight right hand. I think that plays big in this fight, and that's my prediction. So, to the next video. Peace out.